What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly manga chapter review of Boku no Hero Academia, chapter 67 if I am correct. So with this chapter, Great Boy is the major spotlight. But before I get into Great Boy and I talk about what he did in this chapter and how much he impressed me, let's talk about my boy, Oyama. Oyama, you never change. Just never change, Oyama. Please don't. Your entire character is so fucking hilarious. I don't even know really how to think about this character, because he's Naval Light Boy, and then in this chapter, when he's going up against 13 with Ochiko, he shoots out these lasers, and 13's like, oh, I can also absorb light and deconstruct it at an atomic level. He looks at him, and he's like, how uncool. He's like, I am me. I am me. What in the fuck? I am me. Like, he says how uncool. He looks at Ochiko and he's like, I am me. This boy, this boy needs some serious help, man. I just, like, oh my god. So, Oyama, I expect great things from him. Like, I expect great things from him in the future. I really do. I could see him becoming a very good character, very strong, depending on how he uses light, and just his entire dialogue is just going to be great. I can already see him being a very good, iconic character in the future, and I want to see that part animated so bad. Most likely, we probably won't, because they'll probably end the anime on the Stain arc. This chapter settles the matches. So all the matches against the senseis, this chapter settles all of that. And we got a couple of losers, so I'm actually glad to see that not every team won. We get a brief panel discussing the strongest senseis or teachers in this chapter. And from what I saw, they say that All Might, Mike, Cementos, and Midnight are the strongest, like the biggest hurdles in this test. And I have to say, I'm a little bit shocked, because you would think that Aizawa would be on that list, but no, he's not. He's not at all. And then Mike is, and like, if you think about it, I'm like, what? So, I mean, it makes sense with his power and all, but still, like, to see the biggest hurdles, Midnight, Mike, All Might, Cementos, and now Cementos, All Might, and Midnight kind of makes a lot of sense, because if you get around Midnight, you're just fucking done. You're just gonna drop down on your knees and just go to sleep. So, I mean, I can understand that, but Mike, whoa. Okay, so, Midnight. Midnight's ability finally gets clarified. We find out that Midnight, she has the ability to knock people out. She emits this smell from her body. And this smell, if you smell it, of course, or taste it, you're pretty much, you're fucking done. Like, you're just gonna go to sleep, and you're not gonna wake up. It didn't really give us an actual specific time on how long people are knocked out. I'm gonna assume, at the very least, maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe a couple hours. I don't know. But it doesn't give us clarification for how many minutes to hours that you are knocked out. But it's still a pretty deadly ability, because, I mean, if Midnight was surrounded by, let's say, 50 villains, and, you know, they're about to kill her, she could just knock them out and they're done. And she's someone that it could be really good for capturing villains. For instance, she walks into enemy territory, she emits this smell, and they're done. Now, here's the thing we do want to take note about Midnight's power. She says that her quirk is only really good against men. For instance, it's extra effective against men. It can work on women, but it's extra effective against men. So it's gender specific. And with that, that means that if Midnight ever goes up against a woman, it might not be as good, to where her power might not work at all. So that is something we do need to take note of for Midnight, because if she ever gets matched up against a woman, she's probably going to lose, or she's going to have a really rough time. Cementos, I pretty much expected him to be that kind of strong. I mean, what we saw with his ability with cement and stuff, it makes a lot of sense. And for, you know, our team that was, like, fighting him, I guess that, like I said, it makes sense, because he's just that strong. He's kind of similar, not as strong as All Might, but Cementos with his, you know, quirk ability, it's something that you would really need to have a lot of power to beat. And even though we found out about how one of the characters could have 10 grams of sugar, and every 10 grams, his strength is increased by 5 times, it's kind of like a sugar rush. That power might be ridiculous in the future if he could figure out a way to kind of slow down the effects of his brain. Like, if he could take some form of chemical or something, maybe some medicine, and if he could, you know, intake a bunch of sugar, 10 grams to 50 grams, like, I mean, that's crazy, because his power increases by 5 times for every 10 grams, and if he could figure out a way to kind of mass consume this to where he doesn't pass out, he could do some devastating damage. There is a possibility, now, hypothetical, just hypothetical, okay, so hear me out. This dude could be strong as All Might. Now, his body might not be able to take it because he might not be as trained, but it might be possible if he could figure out a way to consume massive amounts of sugar, he could briefly reach the level of All Might, or Izuku, briefly, because if his strength is multiplied to that extent, like his power. Okay, so back into Great Boy. Now, he's the main one I want to talk about now. So, Great Boy, I talked shit about him last week. Like, I remember putting him down in my last review. I was talking about Mineta. He needs character development. Like, I remember focusing on that heavy because of how his character was shown. I'm like, he needs development. I know he's a comedy gag. I know he's one of the writer's favorite characters, so I know he's probably going to eventually get character development, but I was really focusing in on that because the way he was acting was kind of like, oh, are you serious right now? And to see how Mineta in this chapter got that character development, how he was displayed, how he beat Midnight, it just, yes, that is what I wanted to see from his character, and he definitely won the chapter for me. Yes, Mineta, Great Boy, won the chapter for me. He was definitely, I think, the best part of this chapter. Just his overall speech, how he was talking about how he wanted to be a hero to be cool, but then he found out that heroes are already cool to begin with. I love that entire speech. I also love it to where he's like, the boobs can wait. That was a great line as well. Definitely a good quote that I know anime-onlys, when they see the anime, are going to laugh their asses off to. And then you also add into how he stopped Midnight with his ability. He did quick thinking with, you know, Sero's tape around his mouth. He stuck her to the ground, and then he ran. I mean, just, Great Boy did a good job. There's not more I could really say that could compliment him any better. He did so much better than he did last chapter. And I'm glad the mangaka decided to take us up by, like, the shirt and just fucking bitch slap. It's like, fuck you, Mineta's a good character. That's kind of what the mangaka did with this chapter. Like, fuck you, Mineta's a good character, and he's going to continuously get good. Oh yeah, we also have it to where the villains pop up too at the end. We have it to where they're meeting up. We have the certain villains we already saw earlier on at the earlier stages of the arc, and after Stain, we see them popping up, going to be joining Shigaraki. So yeah, I mean, we also have that the villains are starting to move. And one thing I do want to point out though, Shigaraki, he actually was looking at a photo of Izuku, and then he disintegrates it, so that's implying that we might have a match of Shigaraki versus Izuku in the near future, so that's gonna be fun. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.